Nancy Pelosi begged the media to help her sell the Democrats' $3.5 trillion tax and spend bill.
So do you think you need to do a better job at messaging, and going forward, how do you sell this if ultimately you have to pare it down?
Well, I think you all could do a better job of selling it, to be very frank with you.
Pelosi's asking the media for help, but the media can't say what's actually in this thing, because if they did, the entire country would revolt. It's stalled now, thank God, and the Democrats are panicking that we'll start picking through this boondoggle and report what's in it. Well, we did that, and here's what we found. The most expensive bill in American history, $4.3 trillion. When we built the interstate highway system, this is 8 times the cost of that. They want $400 billion for government daycare. That's right, hundreds of billions for federally funded babysitters, literally cradle to the grave. Billions in subsidies to stay home instead of work and give unions total control of the economy. Largest tax increase in American history, $2 trillion. Higher business taxes than socialist Europe and even communist China. Taxes passed down to consumers with higher prices, fueling more massive inflation, bringing us back to the Carter years. $50 billion in death taxes. Makes you pay more taxes after you die, so your family doesn't get as much. $80 billion tax hike on small businesses, which just got slaughtered during the pandemic. Taxes on energy, taxes on employers, and if you smoke cigarettes, the cost of a pack just went way up. Big time tobacco taxes here. Doubles the number of IRS agents, and none are going to be allowed to look at Hunter Biden, just at the rest of us. Lets IRS agents spy on your bank account if you have a balance of over $600, which is pretty much everybody. This is the Green New Deal that most Democrats didn't want to touch because it was too politically toxic, so they just hid everything in this thing. $7 billion for the Green New Deal climate police. They wanted to fund the real police, but fund the climate police. $10 billion in Green New Deal slush funds to indoctrinate college students. $2 billion for green job training. Now remember, Obama already tried this and he couldn't point to a single green job he created. This blocks American energy exploration, which increases our dependence on the Middle East and Russia. Great areas. $27 billion for a green bank. We're getting ripped off, guys. This is where donors go for cheap loans. It's that simple. Forces Americans to use wind and solar in places where it isn't very sunny or windy. California already did this, and it caused rolling blackouts. They basically want to turn America into California. No, thank you. We'd like to keep our lights on. Billions in kickbacks for green donors and activists. $25 million for butterflies. That's right. $25 million for desert fish. I didn't even know they had fish in the desert. And $25 million for mussels. Not these, although I'd take the money. A $4 billion slush fund for radical activists to tear down racist infrastructure. Not sure a train station can be racist, but okay. To me, it sounds like taxpayer-funded statue toppling. Maybe the George Washington Bridge is coming down. You never know. It makes crossing the border much easier, makes it harder to deport illegals, and spends $100 billion to give amnesty to 10 million illegals. Free college tuition for illegals, free tax credits, and welfare for illegals. And Biden wonders why the illegals are coming from South America to get here. $500 million for, ready? Culturally appropriate school lunches. What does that mean? Taco Tuesdays? $7 billion for Ivy League schools, the wealthiest schools in the country. The word equity plastered all over this thing. That means reverse racism. $250 billion to bail out health insurance companies. Didn't we just give those guys $1 trillion last year during the pandemic? They need more money. Free housing for convicted felons. Beat your wife, here's some rent money. Penalizes getting married, keeps single mothers stuck on subsidies, and includes taxpayer-funded abortions. Grants to treat people for loneliness. I'm sorry, but I'm not paying for someone to find dates. There's an app for that. Let's bring in Senior Advisor to President Trump, Stephen Miller, to help us digest all the spending. You know, it's true. This actually is in this $3.5 trillion, Stephen, and that's why they don't want us to know what's in it?
Well, you hit the nail right on the head. And I'll give some friendly advice to Republicans on Capitol Hill. You can't just keep talking about the price tag. You have to talk about the policy inside of the bill. It's 2,400 pages for a reason. If you just wanted to spend a few $1 trillion, you could do that in 50 pages. This isn't like a stimulus bill where you're plowing money into existing programs. You are fundamentally reordering all of American society. It's just one example. This bill requires healthcare providers to be trained in equity, which is code word for critical race theory. So you're going to go to the hospital with a medical emergency, you're going to need a tracheotomy, and the nurse won't be trained in airway obstructions, but they'll have all the latest knowledge on the books from Ibram X. Kendi. I mean, this is madness. This bill is the most radical piece of legislation in our lifetimes. It's basically the Green New Deal combined with critical race theory, combined with massive amnesty and open borders, combined with the complete destruction of the American economy. There's tax hikes here on American energy. There's tax hikes here on American manufactured goods. There's the death tax in here. There's a tax credit for rich people to give money to their favorite universities, presumably to teach more critical race theory. I could go on.
You're so right. It's not just one thing. It's everything a liberal has ever wanted to do for the last decade, Miller. You nailed it. We got Green New Deal. We got amnesty. We got bailouts. We got critical race theory. They shoved everything into one pie. And now we're arguing over a price tag, but we're not talking about the ingredients.
Yes.
And these ingredients are going to make this country sick.
Right.
And it's time for people to start talking about what's inside this thing.
Here's the analogy I would give real quick. Imagine you went to a restaurant. They overcharged you massively, but they also poisoned you when you spent a month in the hospital. Then you had to write a Yelp review. Would your whole Yelp review just be, man, that was an expensive meal? Or would you maybe mention, oh, by the way, they poisoned me? Yeah. This bill is filled with poison, page after page after page. GOP, wake up, tell people what's in the bill.
Yeah, just tell them the truth. Tell them what's in it, so we don't have to pass it before we find out. Yes. Stephen Miller, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on Water's World.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.